You wake up. For a moment, you're somewhere else entirely. A hallway that doesn't exist, a conversation with someone you haven't seen in years. Then you blink, and it's gone. Not faded. Gone, like it was never there at all. You try to grab the last piece of it, and your hand closes around nothing. This happens almost every single night of your life, and you've probably never once asked why your brain seems to actively want you to forget. The answer isn't that dreams are unimportant. The answer is that your brain may be running an entirely different operation while you sleep, one that has very little to do with memory at all. Picture your brain at 3 in the morning. Your eyes are moving rapidly beneath closed lids. This is REM sleep, rapid eye movement, the stage most associated with vivid dreaming. Inside your skull, something strange is happening. The areas responsible for vision, emotion, and narrative are wide awake and firing constantly. But one particular region, the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic, memory consolidation, and self-awareness, goes remarkably quiet. Neuroscientist and sleep researcher Matthew Walker has spent decades studying what happens in the sleeping brain. His research shows that during REM sleep, the brain's memory encoding systems, particularly the hippocampus, operate under entirely different chemical conditions than they do while you're awake. Specifically, levels of a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine drop dramatically during REM sleep. Norepinephrine plays a crucial role in laying down memories you can later retrieve. Without enough of it, the brain has a much harder time transferring what's happening in the dream into long-term storage. In other words, your brain isn't failing to save the file. It may never have hit save in the first place. Why would evolution build a system that generates intense, vivid experiences every single night and then largely declines to remember them? One leading theory comes from psychiatrist and dream researcher Allan Hobson, who proposed that dreaming isn't primarily about storytelling or symbolism at all. It may be a side effect of the brain performing essential maintenance, sorting through the day's input, strengthening some neural connections, pruning others, all while the body is paralyzed and safely immobile. Hobson's activation synthesis model suggests the brain is essentially firing semi-randomly during REM sleep, and the vivid narrative dreams you experience are your cortex's attempt to make sense of that internal noise, weaving a story out of static. If that's true, the dream itself might not be the point. The dream could simply be the visible shadow cast by a process that's actually about something else entirely, like the noise a washing machine makes while it's doing its real job underneath the surface. There's a second major theory that points in a related but distinct direction. Cognitive scientist and memory researcher Robert Stickgold has researched how sleep, particularly REM sleep, appears critical for emotional processing and memory integration. His work suggests that during dreams, your brain may be taking recent emotional experiences and cross-referencing them against older memories, searching for patterns, weakening the emotional intensity attached to difficult experiences, integrating new information into your broader understanding of the world. This is sometimes called memory consolidation, but Stickgold's research suggests it's less like simple file storage and more like a nightly editing process, recombining fragments of your waking life into something more useful, then often discarding the raw footage once the edit is complete. This would explain something almost everyone has experienced. A problem that felt unsolvable the night before sometimes feels strangely clearer the next morning, even though you don't remember dreaming about it at all. The processing happened, the footage just didn't survive. Here's where it gets genuinely strange. Not all dreams disappear at the same rate. Sleep researchers have observed that dreams recalled immediately upon waking are remembered far more often than dreams from earlier in the night, suggesting that proximity to wakefulness, not the content or intensity of the dream itself, may be the biggest factor in whether you remember it at all. Wake up mid-dream and you might recall it vividly for hours. Wake up 20 minutes later after sliding into another sleep stage, and that same dream may vanish as if it never happened, regardless of how vivid or emotionally significant it was. This suggests memory of dreams isn't really about the dream's importance. It's almost entirely about timing, a kind of narrow window that closes shortly after you wake, whether or not anyone is paying attention to it. Sleep researcher Tore Nielsen has documented how external factors influence dream recall as well. People who wake up naturally without an alarm interrupting the sleep cycle tend to remember more dreams than those jolted awake. Stress, sleep deprivation, and inconsistent sleep schedules can also affect how often dreams are retained, suggesting recall has as much to do with the conditions surrounding sleep as it does with the dreams themselves. So what does it mean if you almost never remember your dreams? Probably far less than you might assume. It likely doesn't mean you don't dream. Every human brain in normal REM sleep almost certainly does. It likely doesn't mean those dreams weren't doing something useful. The consolidation and emotional processing may be happening regardless of whether you remember a single frame of it the next morning. It may simply mean your particular sleep architecture, your wake-up timing, your stress levels, your sleep consistency isn't creating the narrow conditions required for that fragile, fading footage to survive the trip into waking consciousness, which leaves you with a strange kind of comfort. Every night, your brain may be quietly running maintenance you'll never witness, untangling yesterday's emotional knots, filing away what matters, discarding what doesn't, all without asking your permission or leaving you a receipt. The hallway that doesn't exist, the conversation with someone you haven't seen in years, these may not be messages you're failing to decode. They might simply be the visible exhaust of a system working exactly as intended, built to process, not to preserve. You close your eyes again tonight. Somewhere behind them, the work will happen anyway, whether or not you remember a single second of it tomorrow. If you've ever woken up chasing the last piece of a dream that's already gone, subscribe. Your brain is doing a lot more work behind the scenes than it ever tells you about, and there's more of that quiet machinery left to explore.